God bless everybody. It's November 11th of 2021. We're having a major event on the 19th. This is the Beaver Moon lunar eclipse of 2021. It is supposed to be the longest partial lunar eclipse in nearly 600 years. So I think that might be a sign. Things to come as we get into November and we potentially see an outbreak of the new corona variants, Delta and some of these other variants coming out by the end of this month as we see things start to spike. We see this longest partial lunar eclipse in nearly 600 years, actually about 580 years, and this happens on November 19th. So this is, I think, extremely important. It is seen over the Americas and a number of different continents. So you're going to see it over the Americas, over Asia, and parts of Europe and West Africa. And this is a long duration event. Actually, the blood moon event will occur about 3.5 hours. It's a long time, much longer than normal. So we'll be able to see it, and you can see the timeline here on when that's going to happen, and you know how it occurs and different things like that. Where it's visible. I'm using space.com on this article. I think it gives the best overview. But yeah, it's got a lot of really interesting things, interesting event, different things that are occurring. And, you know, it's something we need to watch as we walk into the end of this month, and we start to see this acceleration of events occurring around the world, and we can go into world events all night long. I just wanted to do a short video on this blood moon eclipse, and that, you know, as we see us move into the end of this month, we're going to see an uptick in this virus. One thing that I am concerned about, and let's go to the Bible and we'll look at this real quick. So I'm using the Bible Gateway site. It's just, I like it, and there's maybe better sites, but this one works really well for me. You can switch your versions of Bible. I usually use the Revised Standard Version or the King James Version. I think it gives us the best overall understanding, and it's truer to the word than some of the other interpretations. So as we look at the 6th chapter of Revelation, we see that and we've talked about this in a number of videos, and if you don't understand my logic and where I'm coming up with some of this stuff, you'll have to go back and watch the other videos, but I'm going to run through these first 4 seals real quick and why I think it matters. Okay, so in the first seal, when the Lamb opens the first seal, this is Jesus, and he heard the noise of thunder and one of the 4 beasts saying, "Come and see." And it says, "And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow and a crown, and this was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer." Now, I've talked about this many times. I believe this is Gog of Ezekiel 38:39, that he will create Daniel 8 first. That will and then you'll see. So what you'll see is in Daniel 8, the Kurds or the Medes will align with Iran or Persia, and then we will see their destruction from Turkey, and then that will transition into Ezekiel 38:39, and from that we will see them move down into Egypt in the next 2 years, and then back up into Israel, where 10 full nations led by Turkey, or Erdogan, which is, I believe, Gog of Ezekiel 38:39, or the White Horseman. And so if Erdogan is Gog of Ezekiel 38:39, and he is the White Horseman, or the first seal released, he will be the catalyst that bring forth the next 3 horsemen. Not necessarily that the first horseman, is controlling the next 3 horsemen that come out, but he's the catalyst that's released first, and then brings forth the next 3 horsemen that we're talking about today. So we see that first horseman, which I believe is Gog of Ezekiel 38:39. He will go against, be released and go forth and conquering. He will conquer a quarter of the planet by the time we get into this. So I believe that's all in the Middle East. I believe you can cut out the footprint of Alexander and go from past to future, and those 4 regions from Alexander's destruction and the breakup of his kingdom is the same footprint or similar footprint to what you'll see in the future. But once you see this White Horseman come out and he starts to conquer, then they start to open the second seal, and from that the second beast says, "Come and see." And from that another horse comes out that's red. He is given the power to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another, and he was given basically a great sword. So in this situation, we're going to start to see a lot of turmoil in the Middle East. We're watching Iran ramping up things. Saudi Arabia is running exercises with the United States right now. You're seeing Syria and Iraq in a precarious place, especially with Turkey and the Kurds, as we see potentially Daniel 8 start to come into play, as it tells us the Medes or the Kurds potentially could join Iran or Persia, and then we would see their destruction. So we have to watch that. And from that, like I said, I believe from that destruction we see Iran absorbed into that 10-nation caliphate, and then they'll end up in Egypt and in Israel by 2023 based on my timelines. I think that's extremely important, because as we start to see this White Horseman come out and he starts to take peace from the earth, and we start to see nations go against nation and one another start to kill each other, and this is not only just wars, this is chaos in the street and civil unrest and just senseless violence and destruction and death. People are just going to go off because there's no sanity left in the world if you don't have the seal of God. And so we have to watch this red horseman, because he's taking peace from the earth, and he's taking peace from people, so that they're going to create havoc upon the planet and just do insane things that you would not normally think they would do, just because they're overwhelmed with what's going on out here. But then when he opens the third seal, then we start to see this black horseman with the balances in his hand. And this is where we talk about where we're at now, supply chain disruptions, inflation that's running rampant. CPI numbers of China was like 13.5%, and ours was like 6 to 6.5%. So the consumer price index is extremely high. that shows that there's inflation and people are paying more for the goods and services that they get. And so when he talks about this third seal being broken in a measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley for a penny, but don't hurt the oil and the wine. Look, oil's at like $80–85. And that could go up to $100. And your fuel prices are going to keep going up because of the shortages on, you have shortages in fuel in some places, but they're trying to have more output of oil so they can try to bring the price down. But they're happy actually to be on $80–85 oil at this point, since they've been on $40–45 oil for a number of years. And so this is really starting to put money into the oil companies' pocketbooks, and I don't think they really want to change this too much. They might try to reduce the price some, but I don't think it's going to go down tremendously, and probably will go up, because once they realize the economies aren't going to open up due to potentially the fourth seal, which is coming up, and what we've started to see, this disease of corona and these variants come out, this could create a stagflation, in the sense that there's jobs, but people don't want to go out and work because they don't want to go out into the virus or the environment, or the government's paying them more to stay home, or they can't put their kids in schools because schools are closed down. And so a lot of the care, or the family members in the home, either the father or mother, having to stay home to watch the kids because they can't get them in school because things are shutting down, whatever. But these supply chain disruptions aren't going away. Stagflation is probably coming. Inflation is starting to really, really penetrate every aspect of our lives, and the government is going to either have to start to taper immediately, which they're talking about this month, which is basically stopping the purchasing of bonds and treasuries and other things. And then their goal is, once they stop tapering in the middle of next year, that they would then start to raise rates, and you would see potentially maybe 2 interest rate changes in 22, and then potentially 2 to 3 more changes in the interest rate in 23, depending on how many basis points, if it's a quarter or half, that's going to then move the interest rates up. But they have to eliminate the bonds and treasuries that you're purchasing, and the minute they start to raise these rates, then it affects the debt that we hold, because now we're paying more to service the debt. And these are hundreds of millions of dollars every 0.25 or quarter% adjustment up in the interest rates. We're paying millions on that money that they're now basically spending like they're drunk. We just passed a $1.2 trillion package, infrastructure, whatever they want to call it, that we just don't need. Now, do we need to fix things? Yes, but do we need to spend the money and put $1.2 trillion on the books on what we've already spent, and add that much debt burden to us? If they do have to raise the rates, we're going to have to service this debt. So it's a problem. But when the fourth seal is opened and the fourth beast comes out and says, "Come and see," you see this pale horse come out, and on it you have death, Hades, hell in some books, in some Bibles it says hell and Hades. Death is the black horseman. We're talking disease potential. These 4 horsemen are given power over a quarter of the planet to kill by sword, with hunger, death, and with the beasts of the earth. And so my fear, as we see Erdogan potentially create destruction on Iran in the next 6 months to a year, I think it'll be 6 to 8 months, we'll see. As that occurs and we see that destruction, they start to move to Egypt and then back into Israel by 23, we're going to see these birth pains back here of these first 4 seals start to really ramp up. And by the time you get to this pale horseman, in the next year or 2, we could potentially see what I call a major breakout of a variant that could be much more deadly than what we're seeing now. Even though the corona is affecting a lot of people, the mortality rates really aren't extreme. And it's, we don't want to lose people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not trying to marginalize this disease. We're all going to be affected by it. The vaccinations are not a cure. They don't even stop you from getting the virus. They only reduce the severity of the disease once you get it. So that's why these people that are double, triple vaccinated are getting sick and getting infected by corona, even though they may not get as sick because they've been vaccinated and boosted. They're still getting the disease because that's not what the vaccinations do. They don't keep you from getting the disease. They eliminate the severity of the disease once you get it. And so for them to say that this is a cure-all and that, this is going to be a game changer is not happening. And you're noticing in a lot of these states now that the corona is coming out pretty heavily in some of these heavily vaccinated areas. And so it's not helping the transmission, and the new Delta variant coming out is more transmittable than the COVID-19 original strain. And so my fear is, though, we are going to see what I call a Captain Trips event. And what I mean by that is you'll have a potential mass destruction of people through a virus that's not controllable, gets out of hand, overtaxes all the services, the hospitals, to the point where, they potentially are even piling bodies or burning them or whatever through crematoriums, and different things like that due to the death. And then once you get this death cycle, you get a disease cycle because you got a lot of dead flesh laying around and different things like that are causing further problems, and it just deteriorates over time. So I'm concerned that in the next year and a half, we will see a potential major variant come out, and that this pale horseman might rear its ugly head, and with him will bring a lot of destruction to potentially, the planet has 8 billion people. This potentially could affect all 8 billion people, but the majority of this says a quarter or a fourth of the Earth. So the major impact would be about 2 billion people in the Middle East, and then it would radiate out from that central point. So it's like dropping throwing a rock in a pond and you see the ripple effect. You throw the rock in the middle of the Middle East, around Syria, and it's going to radiate out to the rest of the world. But anyway, I just wanted to go over this blood moon event. I think it's extremely important. I think it brings us into a more comprehensive thought that we are in potentially the birth pains and sorrows. If you're looking at these first 4 seals, you have to start to look at the real-time events around you. And I know a lot of people are pre-seals rapture theology. And I'm not. I'm pre-wrath, or right before the bowls, or Revelation 15:1, where the 7th trumpet sounded, and the 7 trumpets are handed out, or the 7 bowls are handed out, and then those angels go forth and drop the wrath of God, which is indicated in Revelation 15:1. This is just going to get worse and worse and worse, and like I say, as we get into that trumpet phase, we see basically a third of the planet devastated once all 7 seals are broken. You get into Revelation 8:1 and 2, so go to 8:1 and 2. Once these 7 seals are broken, you have a half an hour of silence, and then the 7 angels are given 7 trumpets, and they go forth. If you believe that it's literal and the Bible is chronological, from the 7 seals breaking, and then 7 trumpets sounding, and then 7 bowls dropping, then we have to look at these events, and if a quarter of the planet's being devastated in the seals, and a third of the planet is being devastated in the trumpets, in the first 4 trumpets, then this is going to start to get really interesting. And my question is, if you are pre-seals rapture, and I'm not saying I'm right. I just believe that what I've found is that we are pre-wrath before the bowls, the 7 bowls in Revelation 15:1, right when the Lord comes back, and it's not in Revelation 4:1 when John is taken up. I guess my question to those people, because I'm still trying to, be open-minded about this, and look at their point of view. I think we have to look at all points of view, but then we have to discern based on what Scripture says, just as literally this says 7 seals are broken, half hour of silence, and the 7 trumpets happen afterwards. After these 7 seals, we have the 7 trumpets, that you have to take what God says literally and not interpret a lot of what your thoughts and feelings and opinions are, and take it literally. And so if you go into the rapture theory, I think you have to realize that if you're looking at these seals in real-time events, we seem to be here, okay? We seem to be in this time of the first 4 seals, okay? So my question is, I guess my question is, when is it, what event would occur in a pre-seals rapture theory that would make you say, we shouldn't be here anymore. We should be gone, because you have taught this group of people in Revelation 4:1 that they're taken up with John when he's taken to heaven and sees this latter-day vision. But if we're in the seals, then you're not removed. And so I question, at what event in the world would occur where you would finally say, wow, shouldn't we be gone at this point and removed, and we aren't here, we shouldn't be here for this first seal because we were removed in Revelation 4:1. And I believe it's chronological, so if that's the case, then you would, if based on pre-rapture in the seals, before the seals, or the sorrows and birth pains, you would be removed before these seals occur. So if the seals are starting to break and you're here in fourth seal, based on everything going on out here, what I've just talked about on this video, when do you look at yourself and say, wow, maybe that theology might be wrong, and maybe I ought to put some oil in my lamp as he told me to? And, I tell people, even if you believe in a pre-seals rapture, and I'm not saying I'm right by being pre-wrath or prior to 7 bowls and the 7th trumpet when the Lord comes back, that I'm the right one in the room. But let's say, in my case, I would rather prepare oil, have supplies and things ready, and then if I'm raptured here in 4:1, which I don't necessarily agree with at this point. Now that may change over time, and somebody may show me something that changes my mind there. If I'm removed, it doesn't matter whether I have all this stuff. Maybe somebody will get an advantage of using my stuff, and that will give them a better place to be so that maybe they can be saved somehow over time, as supposedly then the wicked are the only ones left, and they are the only ones that go through tribulation and great tribulation. I do question some of these things. One of the main reasons I question this is because the Gentiles do trample the city for 42 months. And I know we're grafted into the Jewish tree through the blood of Christ and through grace, but I'm not a Jew, I'm a Gentile, and I don't think I'm a hybrid between a Jew and a Gentile. Maybe I don't understand it because I'm not a dispensationalist and I don't belong to a church, so maybe I don't quite understand the difference between once you've been saved through grace or the blood, that now we aren't really a Gentile, that we're somehow part of the Jewish tree, which we are. I agree with that. In my eyes, I believe we're one of the 12 tribes, that through Ruth, and this is my opinion, through Ruth, through King David, through the Gentile Ruth, which she was a Gentile, through her seed, or through her line, we had King David, and then that brought us into Christianity, but through that, we've been assimilated into the Jewish tree. So, I'm not a Jew, I'm a Gentile, so I don't necessarily completely understand that. I am trying to understand this dispensationalist theory, and how that works, but so I hold my question. At what point should you not be here? What event would occur that would make a dispensationalist go, I'm wrong and I shouldn't be here? I would suspect that once Daniel 8 occurs and Iran falls, potentially through Turkey, as it tells us, that would be a major sign that you either should be leaving soon or you shouldn't be here um, at all at that point. But I don't want to get this to be a rapture type event. I'm still trying to look at this as an open-minded person. You all know that if you follow everything that I've been teaching, I believe it's a pre-wrath thing. I have not changed my view on that. I wrote an article about this. But I do believe this blood moon event is an interesting thing, that it's such a long duration. I mean, this blood moon event occurs for 3.5 hours. That's how long the duration is on this, and that this has not occurred in nearly 600 years, approximately 580 years, and that this blood moon event is going to happen on November 19th, and that this is going to be a really interesting event. It actually lasts 3 hours, 28 minutes, and 24 seconds, and it's a partial eclipse in 580 years. So check it out. We'll see what happens. I believe we are in an amplification and acceleration mode at this very moment, and we're going to start to see a ramp up. But I do believe that in the next few weeks we are going to see a major uptick in the corona numbers, and not necessarily mortality, in the sense that we have much more ability to combat this disease on the ground with the new medications, pills, and vaccinations. But I'm not upholden to get the vaccinations. I believe that natural immunity is probably your best solution here, and that you should stay away from the vaccinations because they're not tested. They've not been placed in third trial testing. They haven't had 10 years to see the side effects of what these things are going to do. And they're inoculating or vaccinating everybody of all ages, and there is no way anyone knows exactly how this is going to turn out in the next few years as we move forward, because we just don't have the data to determine that. So God bless everybody. Have a great night. Keep an eye on this blood moon event, this Beaver Moon lunar eclipse of 2021. Have a great night. God bless.